Well, hello everybody, my name is Brandon and I'm going to be giving you a tutorial of the premium version of Signal. Bear with me, this is going to be kind of long. I'm going to be going over things and not really explaining in depth too much about what they mean for the sake of trying to get through this video without making it too long. We will, on another video, go in and explain all of these pages in the slider, but for right now, we're just going to focus on the dashboard. So at the very top, we got our little logo there. And then we have a trading view widget that shows us the price action. You can go through different settings of time frames and you can shrink it, you can move it, you can do whatever you need. There's also a breakout if you want to go to trading view to see it in a bigger stack, then you can do that. Right below that, we got Odin's track record. This is something that I'm pretty excited about. We're always very transparent about everything that we do here. And so we want to post our receipts. And so every 4 hours, our data gets synthesized and it gets synthesized by an LLM. And then it does a snapshot of all of that data and gives you a really deep read. And then we store all of that data in our database as well as our snapshots. And then we have roll-ups every 1 week, every 1 month, and every 1 year. And so our AI analyst that we call Odin will go back and keep score. How well is it doing? The things that it is saying that it believes is happening and should happen, probabilistic sense, how well is it doing? And this is the track record we have so far. Here on the premium, we get a 1 to 2 week outlook. We get a 1 to 3 month outlook. And then we have kind of a basic and a detailed version. I might kind of try to synthesize this a little bit better because it does get very deep. It does get very technical, but this is kind of the read. This happens every 4 hours of all of the data I'm about to show you in Signal Premium. And then there's little breakout cards here. You can look at the signals, the key drivers, conflicting signals, squeeze scenario, like what happens for a long or short squeeze. We will explain all that later in other videos in the library. And then we have just kind of a little news intelligence. It's an extra LLM synthesis of just particular news, okay, outside of Signal. And here we see today, MicroStrategy is buying Bitcoin again, no surprise. And the ETF flows, it's given a little bit of information on that. Okay, here we have all 8 categories represented in our gauges. Okay, so this is kind of a quick read of what's going on with the way that we have things organized here. And all of these have little question mark tooltips, so if you're not sure, feel free to click on those and get further educated about what those mean, what these reads are. This is a really great feature, very, very useful. Right now, we are having we're having longs get liquidated, as you can see on this chart. This is a bisymmetrical chart here, and you can see like when we're getting a lot of short liquidations, the green will be all lit up, and when we're getting long liquidations, the red will be all lit up. This gives you very good directional information about where we're going right now in the very short term and what is affecting the price of Bitcoin. You see the Bitcoin price is trending down. Well, one of those reasons is right now we're getting long liquidations in the futures markets. Gives you some targets here. We're going to go in and explain all this later. This is a momentum chart, which I think is very useful. I've made this custom with liquidation data that we get. You don't get this anywhere else. And this shows you momentum. It's kind of interesting. What's going on 1 hour, 4 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour with liquidation. And as you can see, we're getting a little bit of green shoots here in the short term. So if that continues, expect this to flip to short squeezes and the price to go up. All right, so now we're getting into our tabs. These tabs down here, there's 8 of them. There's 8 of them that represent these 8 gauges. So we're going to start with the first one called liquidity. Again, I'm going to be speed running through this, not going too deep, because we're going to have videos that explain all this in depth. But this tells you liquidity. What's going on with liquidity? Bitcoin is very sensitive to liquidity. When there's a lot of liquidity sloshing around, risk assets tend to do very well. Housing goes up, equities go up, and things like Bitcoin go up. And so right now we have a little bit of a tightening, right? These top cards here, it says liquidity flow. This kind of gives you bullet points of everything that's below. M2 money supply, overall money supply is ticked up a little bit year over year, but reverse repo it's always at 0. It's been at 0 now for over a year or two. We'll see if that will probably tick back up if we have another big print from the Fed. Treasury general account is negative because it is increasing. Money is going into it, means there's less money allocated to risk assets like equities and Bitcoin. Equities, of course, get people to buy them every week with 401ks. It's kind of a rigged system where there's just forced money into it. Bitcoin is not that way, so it's a lot more sensitive to liquidity. Federal balance sheet is increasing a little bit, so that means there's a little bit of easing going on. This just tells you the federal funds rate versus the 2-year treasury. Again, we're going to go into all of these charts later in other videos. The next tab is risk. At the very top here, the regime chart tells you it's neutral right now. And these bullet points kind of give you a hint that it's mostly neutral. The VIX is pretty much in a neutral range here. It's 18.57. I'm going to later show you a very cool custom VIX indicator that I created that I think is very valuable. The DXY is a little bit ticking up, but not outrageous. Again, these are things that affect Bitcoin price. The Bitcoin versus the DXY, there's a little indicator. These things you can click on. If you tap them, it gives you more information. Again, we're going to go into depth to explain all these in other videos by themselves. MVRV Z-Score, market value versus realized value. Again, there's extra information. You can click anywhere on these charts. We have the short-term holders underwater. This is a very valuable insight as well. It tells you with people what price they most likely bought at and what price they probably would need to divest at to make a profit. That's a tendency in markets with Bitcoin. We have all this on-chain data, so we make use of that. And then we're going right into the on-chain tab here. So this tells you what's going on-chain. This is a pretty interesting chart here. It's the exchange flows. This is one that we look at a lot. And so this tells you if Bitcoin is going on to exchanges, that's usually bearish because that usually means people are doing that so that they can sell them, so they can get access to dollars with their Bitcoin. So the green little bars here is when Bitcoin is going off of exchanges into cold storage, meaning probably not going to sell it. And the red bars is when people move it on to exchanges. And you can click on any of these to kind of get the read of those. We got the Nupal net unrealized profit loss. Again, lots of data here. Whoops, whoa, got a little. We got spent output profit ratio. Again, I will explain that. We got short-term, long-term, and market SOPR. We got minor health. That's very important. We will explain what that means. The Puel multiple is kind of an interesting. Network hash rate. Now we're getting into the on-chain information here. This just kind of tells you what's going on with the network. If you're interested in that, it shows you transactions. It shows you how much hashing. It shows you how congested it is. And then we got stablecoin. We got BTC dominance. Again, I'm going to go into all this. This is a cool little custom indicator that I made, which is stablecoin supply, 30-day trend versus Bitcoin price. We'll explain that in another video. So I know this is a lot. Bear with me. Institutional. This is a very important tab. Again, the card here is showing kind of negative today. And this tells you if the ETFs are buying or not. Okay, so here we saw that the ETF sold a bunch of Bitcoin yesterday. So if you want to know what's moving price, is it liquidation event? Are people getting wrecked on borrowing on futures markets? You go up to those indicators I showed you before, these things you can kind of see. Or if you want to know are institutions buying or selling, well, that's this information. Or if you want to know if retail is buying and selling, we got more information below that. I'll explain that in other videos. But mostly the biggest takeaway here is that institutions have been buying. They have been buying. In the last 24 hours, we have a little negative. But if you look out 3 months, 30 days, 7 days, 1 year, they have been buying everybody's bags, everybody. So everybody that's been selling, thinking Bitcoin's going to zero, well, guess who's buying it? The big guys. And this information tells you that. That's why I know some things other people don't. And you will too if you get this premium dashboard. Painless or shameless plug. ETF activity, this just kind of tells you in the interim what's going on today. We're going to go into all the CME basis trades, very important information. Master mNAV, this is retail information, very important. Coinbase Premium, very important. This is a really cool indicator we're going to go into. This is one that I'm very proud of. I built this myself from scratch with information that I thought was very useful to put together, but it tells you a correlation between Bitcoin and VIX and potential bottoms and rallies. That is the premium version of the institutional tab. We do not have institutional tab on the free version. Positioning, again, this kind of tells you about futures markets. This is open interest, how much money is going into those markets. Is it healthy? Is it frothy? Long-short ratio, again, this has to do with liquidations. It's pretty healthy. Anywhere around 1 to 1 or less is pretty healthy. And this tells you just more information about what's going on in those liquidation charts I showed you earlier. Right now we're having mostly longs get liquidating, and when that happens, we have price going down. And when it flips to shorts, then we have price going up. Momentum, this is kind of our TA section. This is not strictly a TA application. But this, we do have a TA section, which is very useful. We have different time. You can go through different time frames here. 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly. You can see them change. It's very cool. This top chart here, those dotted lines is the Bollinger Bands. If you don't know what those are, look it up. We will talk about that more. The white line is the Bitcoin price. The purple line is the 50-day moving average. And of course, the gold line is the 200-day moving average. This gives you really good information in a technical sense where we're at and potential bounces to the upside, downside. You couple that with all the macro and fundamental information, you can get a very good picture. We have an automatic Fibonacci retracement, swing high, swing low, that adjusts accordingly. This is very good information. It tells you where you at that 38.2% first stop, 78.6%, maybe getting frothy, and of course the golden ratio of 161.8%. We will go into explain what all this means. Going a little bit further, we have momentum, kind of shows you, hey, on the daily, we're getting close to kind of a bear signal here. This is momentum, that's the RSI, and the MACD. We just flipped bearish, barely on the MACD. That's also momentum. And if you want to go into the detail on these, we got all the details. Go back up here to macro conditions. It's looking pretty good. This is kind of the medium to long term, okay? And this gives you really good information. This is kind of the macro calendar, PCI inflation data, FOMC decision. So if you want to know these things that are going to come up that are going to affect markets, stock markets, all the markets, would also affects Bitcoin now because it's become institutionalized. This tells you what's going on. We got the Japanese carry trade. We will go into explain what that is. We got credit spreads. We got inflation expectations. We have industrial production, which kind of mirrors PMI. We got more yield curve information. Here we have a yield curve versus Bitcoin price chart, which is very useful. We have a real federal funds rate, not just implied, but the real rate chart here, which is useful to kind of figure out what's going on with risk on, risk off. And then political regulatory is very cool. We got the SEC information, the congressional information, executive information, all looking pretty bullish for Bitcoin at the moment. We do have Jerome Powell in as the Fed chair. We are going to be having Kevin Walsh coming in, most likely. Federal rates are at 3.5 to 3.75. That gives you that information. Really cool little thing here is showing you that the Clarity Act 90-day deadline is coming up here in a couple days. So these are all things that can affect price as well. Very good stuff. Good calendar. Lets you know what's going on, what you should pay attention to if you're thinking about positioning. And then sentiment, currently still building out this. This is going to get better over time. We have the old fear and greed index, which everybody looks at, but it's mostly just a retail indicator. We got public interest. We're going to build this out a little bit more, like who's searching Bitcoin, how much Reddit stuff is Bitcoin. Now we got Polymarket, which is very cool. We got some things that we track here about Polymarket, about the prediction markets. And so you can click on any of these and you can click on view in Polymarket. We also have Kalshi. And so these are all things that shows you like where are people putting the money, betting on Bitcoin, right? And down at the bottom here, we have another crypto news section. This is really good, actually. There's lots of very good relevant cryptocurrency news. So if you want to kind of know what's going on in the space, that's another section you can check out. So that kind of covers everything. I know that was long, but this is very deep. It is worth every penny of $29 a month. It also comes with a premium newsletter when you subscribe. Again, I'm going to go into explaining what all these are that you also get with premium. Actually, you know what? Let's do that right now. One of the things that we're going to do, we're going to talk about alerts and playbooks, because this does pertain to the value in premium. You can set any alert you want in Signal Lord. On My Alerts, you click New Alert, and you go in and select which thing that you want to set, whatever parameters. Hey, I want to know when VIX goes to this level. I want to know when DXY goes to this level. I want to know when the federal funds rate, whatever it is, you can select it, and we will email you or telegram you, however you want to look. We also have these things called playbooks. And this is a collection of indicators that go together to trigger an alert. Tells you, when are we getting towards the bottom? When are we getting towards the top? When should I start consider scaling more in on Bitcoin? When should I consider start scaling out? So this tells you exactly how we measure this. All of them. We have a capitulation watch. We have an accumulation zone. We're going to be building these out more. And you can make your own custom playbook as well. You can pick whatever indicators, goes above, goes below. This is very, very powerful. So this is a set it and forget it type thing. If you just want to pay the $29 and be alerted when you need to be doing something or paying attention to something, you can do that. We got your back. Again, we're going to go back up here. We also have an Ask Odin. This is a built-in specific LLM that will tell you anything you want to know about Signal Lord or about anything pertaining to Bitcoin. We have trained this over months. We have uploaded all kinds of information, so it kind of comes from a first principle stance of the greatest minds of Bitcoin, like Adam Back, Andreas Antonopoulos. There's too many names to name that we have fed into that RAG system. Yeah, and so we're going to kind of leave it there. That is the premium dashboard.